So let's get started with making drum beats in Soundtrap. First, I'm going to add a track, and I'm going to go to the drum settings, drums and beats, and let's take a look at this before we start creating anything. When you come in here, you can actually switch between several different sets of drum sounds. So as I scroll through here left and right on these arrows, you'll see various different ones come in. And you can kind of, sometimes it's a good idea to maybe just load in a kick and a snare drum just to kind of see the kind of sound that it gives. So let me actually just loop this one bar. And I did put in a kick drum and a snare drum, and I'm just going to play and just see what it sounds like. Okay, so that's a pretty good sounding one. Now another way to audition the sounds is to have the piano roll open, and you can click on these keys right here, which is actually my preferred way to go. So this is a pretty natural sounding drum kit right here. Okay, so let's stay with that one. However, let me go back to the instrument over here. I'm sorry, to the patterns. Don't hesitate to just go through and try out any of the ones you like. There are no rules to which one we use, particularly for this assignment. So just wanted to let you know that you can get different sounds. Now, another thing that you can also do is add some of the sounds from the kit in here. Okay, so let me go back to the piano roll, and let's listen to what some of the other sounds are in here. See, now there's some tom-toms. So let's put the toms in, okay? And I'm putting toms in because they're great if you want to add drum fills of any kind. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the patterns, and I'm going to just add in some different sounds here. Actually, I'll leave that open hi-hat that came in. I'll leave the crash cymbal. And actually, you can just keep clicking these if you want to expand the kit. Okay, you don't have to do it too far. Okay, that should be enough. Okay, it's up to you. All right, you might want to keep it simple for this first time through, but I've got plenty of stuff to work with here. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is go by what we were talking about and start adding beats. And if you remember, we always want to put as a starting point. Remember, these aren't hard rules. Okay, so let me scroll over here back to the beginning. Okay, where I was, and I'm going to work in just a 1-bar pattern for now. So you see I have my loop right up here just set for 1, and that way I can just keep on playing it and listening to what I get. So if you remember, it is a general rule as a starting point. You will never have an unsuccessful drum beat if you have your bass drum on the first beat and your snare drum on the second beat and another bass drum on the third beat and a snare drum on the fourth beat. So remember, each of these separated grids is a beat. Okay, and then for the hi-hat, I can just put those kind of just going through all the way through like this. And this is just your basic beat. Okay, so this just gives you a beat to go with, and it's really a usable one. Okay, so that's how we can work here. Now, if you want to change your tempo, remember the tempo marking is down here on the bottom, and you can speed it up or slow it down accordingly. When you do, you will hear the metronome giving you the pulse of that beat. Okay, so I'm going to keep it where it was. So I'm just going to close out of this. If I did want to keep it, I would have had to have hit the confirm button to do so. Okay, so I'm going to stick with this to start with. Let's just listen. I just hit the space bar to let it play. Okay, now that I have my foundation, my skeleton, I can start to embellish this a bit. So maybe I'll put you can just experiment and just keep trying stuff. So listen, if I just let this roll and I put something in, and if you like it, you can leave it. And if you don't, you can take it out and maybe try another one here. Okay, so I'm getting a nice little thing going here. And maybe I want to put another bass drum at the end of the bar. Okay, so that's a nice start. So let me stop that. And then remember, it's a good idea to humanize your hi-hats a little bit because they sound kind of robotic. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to go in the piano roll because that's where I can access the velocities. Remember, the velocity is how hard or soft the key. If I was actually keying this on using a MIDI keyboard, it would be how hard or soft was I actually hitting that key. So if I go to my piano roll right here, here's my bar. Now, it's, when you work in here, you can zoom in to get a good look at the notes. So here's my hi-hat here. You can always check by clicking on this keyboard as to what sound you're getting, right? So here's what I have here. So now I'm going to take my velocity, which is a little V, over in the toolbar on the top right corner of this. And when you do that, you see these little lines go through. Now, if the line goes all the way through the note in your piano roll, then that means that it's at full velocity. Full velocity is 125. That's just a MIDI number. Okay. So what I can do is just kind of arbitrarily take this and actually just make it more or less by just dragging up or down, clicking in the note and dragging up or down. And, I can make them a little, just kind of vary them a little. And sometimes when you listen back, you kind of wished you would maybe made one so low or so high, and you could just go back and fix it. Okay, but this is just a way to give it some life, some funk. And when I say funk, I don't always mean funk like it has to be James Brown. I just mean funk meaning feel or attitude. So okay. So I got a nice little thing going here, okay? So the last thing I might want to do is add some swing to it. Because remember, swing kind of gives it that lilt. It kind of gives it that other thing. Now, it's not a requirement, okay? There's a lot of music that never has the swing added to it. But I want to add it. So I'm going to go over and get back to my selection tool. Once you're done working with your velocity, make sure you get back to your selection tool. And I'm going to select all of these notes by just dragging across. And I'm going to go up to edit and I'm going to go to swing. And swing is generally best done subtly. But I'm going to do it not so subtle just so you can hear what it sounds like. And then I'm going to fix it back to being a little more subtle. So by leaving it right in the middle, when I apply swing to this, let's see what happens. Okay, so let's go back and let's actually select these again. Actually, they already were selected. That's why they were all pink. And let me go in one more time and go here to the swing and let me really exaggerate it. Okay, you can actually see it here. Now, this probably isn't going to sound good, so I'm probably going to change this later. But I just want to let you know what it looks like or sounds like. So done. And this is really just to illustrate what swing is and what it sounds like. Okay, you hear how it's a total different kind of feel to it. Okay, that's over the top. So I want to fix that. I'm going to undo. And let me see what I have here. And I think that's not a bad start. Okay, so what I'm going to do is now to continue with this, what I want to do is I want to make a 16-bar arrangement that has two sections, each of them being 8 bars. Okay, that's very typical for most popular music from God knows when, like longer than our lifetimes. Okay, and it's just something It's just a way we here in the Western Hemisphere, we like our sections of songs subdivided into groups of 8 bars. Um, I'm not sure why that is, but that's just the way we as human beings in the Western Hemisphere like to hear music. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the zoom up here. It got all zoomed in. Okay, I guess when you zoom in down here, it also opens it up down up on top as well. So because I got like a decent beat, what I'm going to do is take this and copy it. So I'm just hitting copy. You can do it with a keyboard command if you prefer. And I'm going to make sure my playhead is placed in the next spot. And I'm just going to keep pasting. Now I'm using the keyboard command for paste, which on a Mac is Command V, but it would be Control V on a PC or a Chromebook. And now I've got this copied all the way through. I'm also going to copy it all the way up to 17. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm undoing that. I'm just going to do it up to bar 9. Okay. Now we're going up to bar 9 because our goal is to create the first 8-bar section that ends at bar 9. So the new section starts at bar 9. We're starting, I've not given a formal discussion of musical form yet, but I think from doing this, you're going to start to develop a sense of what musical form is in terms of sections of songs. And they're typically subdivided into 8 bars. Okay, so here's our whole beat. Now what we want to do is add a fill. Now fills can be used for, I'd say, 3 reasons to use drum fills. Number 1 is it breaks up the monotony of a repetitive drum beat. Repetitive drum beats being something that we actually like because they actually create the consistency of a groove or a beat in a song, particularly if you want to do any kind of song that is a dance, based on any kind of dance type of rhythm or anything like that. Secondly, a fill can be used to introduce the listener's ears to the next section of a song. It's like, okay, here's something happening, and we're going into a new section. And thirdly, and it doesn't really apply to the scenario we're in right here, but if we were playing live, sometimes the live players, the bass players, guitar players, and singers sometimes rely on the drummer to do a fill to kind of cue them and make them know that they're definitely going to the next section. Everybody's kind of on the same page. So it actually sometimes serves as an audio cue for the musicians in the band. So there's a lot of reasons why we want to do a fill. Now, a fill can be anything, and we can keep them real simple. And I'm going to start with something simple. And all I'm really going to do is I'm going to go to this. Let's focus on this last bar here. Okay, so let's take the playhead up here and focus on the very last bar. I'm going to zoom in. So let me get a zoom and let me slide across here. So wait, here we go. I just want to get into that last bar. Here we are. This is perfect. Don't pay attention to this one on the left. We're just working here. So we've got, now when I want to work on my fill, right, I'm going to just loop only that one spot. Okay, so this is a little tricky when you're zoomed in sometimes. So we're going to go to the end of this section. Okay, and we just want to loop and just listen so we can keep listening to our fill. So I need to change my loop points, my cycle points, actually they like to call this in here, because there's loops means something else in Soundtrap. Okay, so a very simple thing for a fill is somewhere after the 4th beat, I might just want to add a couple snare hits. Okay, so I'm going to do that right from here. You can add drums from here. It doesn't always have to be back in the patterns. Okay, so from now on, we'll work in here. And I'm going to add some. Okay, so let's see what that sounds like. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with that fill. Look how simple it is. I can maybe just do something right ahead of here and see what that's going to sound like. Okay, that came in on a funny beat, and this grid is hard to tell. But see, I can just kind of move these until they're exactly where I want them to be. Okay, so that's just using the snare. Okay, so that's one way to do this. Now, another thing you could do is use these toms. Okay, so if I wanted to do that, what I could do, here's a high, medium, and low. Okay, so let's start with high. Okay, and then let's do a medium. So this is basically just taking the snare ones I played, and let's see what that sounds like. Okay, so it's that simple to make a drum fill. Now sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes in bar, let's zoom back out again. Sometimes in bar 4, you like to do a little bit of a fill too, but not nearly as much as you would want to do in bar 8, a more subtle one. So watch this. I'm just going to go to bar 4, and I'm going to move my loop point there and work in bar 4 for a little bit. Let's zoom in. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just put a little snare hit there, and I don't like that hitting with the bass drum. It's just an aesthetic choice, and I'm just going to take that out. So let's go. Okay, so let's listen to the whole thing collectively. Okay, so we got pretty much a nice little thing going on here. Okay, so let's check this out, the whole thing. So this would be like a verse of a song or something like that, right? Here, a little fill just to push us along. And then a bigger fill to take us to the next section. Okay? Now, remember, most of today's music is about repetition and not changing things up too much. Okay? So what we want to do is, even though we want to build up and maybe differentiate to a different section, okay, we might just want to build off of what we've already got with these. So what I'm going to do is take just one of these bars, and I'm going to drag it over. What I just did is I held down the Option key and dragged it to copy. So now I want to work on this section. And what I want to do is just make a slight change to this beat in order to make it a little, like, differentiate the section. So let's see what our palette has for us, a palette of sounds for us to try to change it up a little bit. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, there's some stuff coming up here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, this is something that, there's a lot of different things we can do here, but for this one, what I'm going to do is, let me zoom in, and let me just zoom in right here on this last bar, or actually the first bar of the new section, as the case may be. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the hi-hat out. Okay. And in order to give this like another kind of push or a differentiation, I'm going to use the ride cymbal, this thing right here. Okay. And I'm going to just get my pencil and put this in, and have it kind of just lock to this grid right here. And let's see here. I'm going to do every other. So what I'm actually doing is like eighth notes on a ride cymbal here. Okay, so I think I got the wrong note in here. That can happen. There we go. I'm just doing some things. I'm just taking a couple notes and taking them out, making a list. And actually, I like that one still in there, so I'm going to put it back in. And again, I'm going to go with my velocities here. Kind of play with them, make them. Maybe a little bit louder on some of these. Okay, so now all I have to do is continue this for another 7 bars. So how do we do that? Well, let's zoom out on this, and I'm just going to option drag this 7 times. Okay, and that should take me up to bar, it should end at bar 17. Now there's no rule to how you vary up your drum pattern. It's totally up to your own experimentation, and you can have fun with it. You can try different sounds. You might even want to try a different sounding snare or change up the snare. Make it subtle but noticeable, if that makes sense. Okay. Okay, so there's our new section. It's a little different than our other section. And all we want to do is put in a little fill to get us to the next section. Now, oftentimes when a drummer does a fill on something, they actually have to maybe not play the cymbal as much as they were. So I'm going to take the cymbal out for these last couple of beats, and I'm just going to add a bass drum, a snare drum hit right here. Let's see what that sounds like. I don't like that. Let's zoom in and I'll fix it up. And remember, it always comes down to what you like or don't like. Okay? Or what you're going for. Okay? So, let's see here. Let's zoom in a little bit more. This is working in this environment is always about zooming in and out a lot. It's just nature of the beast. Let me delete that and try this again. Let's see here. I'm going to play it from here. No, I don't like that. So here's what we can do. I'm going to select those 2 notes. They're out of time a little bit. They're sort of not. And I really don't like here in Soundtrap, it doesn't give you a good grid to show you where the actual beats are. That's one thing I'm not happy with here. So let me go to edit, and just those 2 are selected, and I will also make that 16th note swing and a lot less. And let's see if this puts it into perspective. I still might need to fix this up a bit. Let's see what we get. Okay, I still don't like that. Okay, let's see what happens here now. Let's try it again. Okay, so here's our whole 8-bar section. Okay, that's not great, but it's acceptable. So I'm gonna just listen to the whole thing now from the very beginning. So let's just go back to the very beginning. Click this little arrow thing here. Hit play. Okay. So what do we have here? Well, this could be the start of building up a song of some kind. A song that might have a verse, verses and choruses for an actual something to build off of. So this is creating the 2 sections for that song. Okay. Okay, you hear the difference now. So that might be a change in the music that comes on, or a chorus of some sort, the repetitive hook of a song, or something could be coming in on this section. Okay, so just experiment with it and try some things out. Okay, so that's all you need. Now, what I would probably do with this, if I was happy with it and I wanted to build a song with it, is as I start to build a song, I would work on each section at a time and then copy and paste those sections to make it a longer thing. But for this, we're only creating a 16-bar drum beat that changes after 8 bars just slightly. Okay, so that's the whole thing. Now, make sure you save when you're done. Okay, and you should be good.